He is one of the greatest mathematicians of our time. He has deeply revolutionized many branches of modern mathematics and received a number of prominent awards, including the Nobel Prize of Mathematics, the Fields Medal. Join us on Up Close to meet world-renowned mathematician Xing-Tung Yao. Hi, and welcome to Up Close. It's a field of study that many of us struggle with, but our guest today, Dr. Xing-Tung Yao, not only made a life of it, but he's also one of the best at it. What is this field? It's math. Well, before I invite the guest on stage, let's get to know him a little bit better by taking a look at this clip. Xing-Tung Yao was born in Shantou, Guangdong Province in 1949, but then moved to Hong Kong with his family. After graduating from Puiqing Middle School, he studied mathematics at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. In 1969, he undertook graduate studies at the University of California, Berkeley, where his advisor was famous mathematician Xing-Shen Chen. After receiving his PhD in mathematics at the age of 22, he spent a postdoctoral year at the Institute for Advanced Study. In 1976, he proved Calabi's conjecture on a class of manifolds. Now called Calabi-Yau manifolds, it has become the geometric grounding upon which physicists build their string theory. In 1987, he moved to Harvard University, where he remains today. Yao has served as the chair of the Harvard Mathematics Department since 2008. His revolutionary use of the methods of partial differential equations in the area of differential geometry has had a lasting impact on geometry and won him a number of awards. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Dr. Xing-Tung Yao to Up Close. Welcome to Up Close, Dr. Yao.
Yeah.
Would you like to say hello to our studio audience?
Sure. Nice to meet you.
Actually, all of them chose to come to the show, so I suspect that they must be very, very interested in math. How many of you like math? Love math?
Good.
All right, we have a room full of people who love math, so we're obviously going to have a great discussion today.
Good.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. All right, let's get seated. Well, Professor Yao, we saw in the clip, you have this tremendous list of accolades and awards in the field of mathematics.
Yeah.
You work with a lot of prestigious universities,
Yeah.
and a lot of this you achieved at a relatively young age.
Yeah.
You probably were like a parent's dream, you know, good student, a lot of awards. But were you always that way? Were you always a good student, even from the start?
Never.
Never a good student.
Yeah, I always feel rebellion to many traditional disciplines.
Really? So you're always rebellious?
In many ways.
So then what happened to make you kind of change and decide to become serious about your studies?
Well, in primary school, I do not consider math to be too exciting because it's rather routine manipulation of numbers until when I study geometry, I feel it's really beautiful and fascinating. So I start to really work on it and think about it. And then I become, really devote my whole life for math.
What was it about geometry? You said you found it beautiful and fascinating.
It's very simple, and yet it describes nature. It describes day-to-day life. You see human face, you see landscape. But then you can see the moon, you can see the sun, you can see the whole universe governing by geometry. And then you can see little atom, quantum mechanical process. Some of them will involve geometry. All these are very fascinating.
How old were you at that time when you discovered math or
course,
geometry?
When I was at that time, I did not see that much, of course. But the beauty of deriving many complicated statements in plain geometry come from some simple axioms. That was very fascinating to me. That was when I was maybe 8 years old.
8 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. How did your parents help you foster this,
Well,
connection?
my father was a professor, but more in philosophy, Chinese philosophy, literature, and related subject. He thinks it is very important to think rationally, to think in a global manner. And so he encouraged me to look into math and nature, like physics, chemistry, and all that. But I like the abstract thinking because my father does think abstractly. So I felt very at home when I was exposed to more abstract thinking, when my fellow students are not so much used to it.
Right. And math is probably the most abstract and the most fundamental of all of those. It's the basic building blocks of all of the sciences.
Right, so not only is abstract, but it can be turned into very concrete and applicable subjects. So that's why it's so fascinating.
Right. Now, I know you went on to University of California, Berkeley, which is actually my alma mater as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I
Actually,
went there, graduated from there for undergrad. And you worked under one of the greatest Chinese mathematicians of our time, Professor Xingsheng Chen.
Right.
What was it like working with him?
Oh, I arrived in Berkeley in 1969. Professor Chen was just on leave that year, the first year. So I started to work on geometry myself with some studying with some other professors and also different subjects related to geometry. Until the next year when he came back from his sabbatical in the summer, I started to work with him. And well, it's very fascinating also. He studied a subject called complex manifold, which I fell in love with. And I learned quite a bit from him on that. But on the other hand, by the time when I studied with him, I pretty much finished my dissertation, actually.
What type of a teacher was he?
Oh, he let students to do anything they choose to. He asked me to give lectures sometimes, and I choose a topic that I like to study, and he allowed me to do that. Yeah.
Great. Well, tell me about the Calabi-Yau manifold, because I know that this was a very important finding that you discovered, and we talked about it in that intro clip. Is it true that at first you had thought that maybe the way to go was disprove the Calabi conjecture, but in fact, as you did more research and more study, you discovered that in fact it was true and that you could add to it?
Well, actually, at the beginning, before I proved the Calabi conjecture, practically everybody believed that it was wrong.
Everybody believed it was wrong. I see.
Basically, all geometers at that point thought that the Calabi conjecture was too good to be true. It should not be true because it's just too good. So I thought it was too good to be true also. And basically, during our conversation, we all say that, well, it is obvious wrong, but we have to find a way to demonstrate that why it's wrong. So after working on it for more than 2 years, very hard.
2 years?
Yeah. I tried to give counterexamples, a way to demonstrate it was wrong. I more or less announced that it was wrong. I found counterexample. Then I found out, in fact, I was wrong. The counterexample that I tried to give all turns out to be false. After really a great deal of thinking, I decided it must be right. Then I started to work on it in the right direction.
Can you describe that moment? Just a moment when I'm just imagining what you're doing. You know, you're writing equations and you're trying to figure out.
Yes.
You know, you're proving your theorems and working with differential equations. And can you just describe that moment when your brain says, "Oh my God, it's right, and this is how I prove it"? What were your emotions like at that time? Because you worked on this problem for
6 years.
6 years.
Well, it's far more complicated. As I said, I thought it was wrong, and then I thought I gave some examples to demonstrate it was wrong. And then I was told that my examples may not work, so I tried my best. In all practice, I did not sleep for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
And I worked and worked, and I found many, many examples. Each of them turns out to be false in a very delicate manner.
Was that frustrating?
It was more than frustrating. I felt, yeah, you can say it's very frustrating. But then I decided nature cannot fool me in this way. That if it's wrong, it should be wrong after such a hard work. And so I decided it must be right. So the moment of deciding that it should work, it changed the whole orientation completely. Then I started to work on it. I worked even for quite a long time after that, still 3 more years. And I started to develop the technology that I need. I learned from my friends, and I worked with some other people on subjects linked to the problem, but not exactly the same problem. So until 1975, I started to feel that I have a strong grip of the problem. So finally, when I solved it, when I just got married, after 1 month,
You just got married.
and I feel a good, really good spirit, and I see that should be done now.
That was a big month for you then, getting married and and finally proving that this is actually right.
Right.
So I guess between you and Kalabi,
Yes.
you have been able to prove that some things in this world are actually too good to be true.
Right. It was fascinating.
I know you are helping to foster mathematics,
Right.
both in the U.S., where you serve as department head of Harvard
Right.
for the math department, but also here in China. You've established 4 math centers,
Right.
2 on the mainland, 1 in Hong Kong, 1 in Taiwan, and you also started what's called the International Congress of Chinese Mathematics.
Right.
Why has it been important for you to focus a lot of your energy now on China and China's young mathematicians?
I like to help young mathematicians all over the world. But how do I do it? The whole world is too big. But Chinese is the country that I was born, China. And I know them much better, and I like them. I would like to see them to be strong in math, because as we understand, math is the fundamental for all the modern science or the modern society. The strength or the fundamental strength of the country depends on fundamental science, and fundamental science depends on math. And I don't think the Chinese mathematics are strong enough, and I like to help them out. And I have the means to help because I know people here, and I know some government officers, and I know some rich men who want to help. So that's how I choose to help in China.
So you'd like to see China's mathematics become even stronger.
Yes.
You know, one of the interesting things is when I was growing up, people always said they assumed that because I was Chinese or even because I was Asian, they thought automatically, oh my God, you must be really good at math. Is there a truth to that?
I don't think there's any difference between any country or any race as far as the strength of mathematics is concerned. It depends on the background, the culture, and the civilization. I mean, the culture that we encounter and the background that we grow up. If you grow up in a very good family who is willing to help you on understanding math, and you have a good teacher, and you have a strong motivation, you could be good in math. It's true that many Chinese are very good in examinations in math. By the end, the number of very good outstanding mathematicians need not be Chinese. I've been chairman in Harvard now, but I've been in Harvard for more than 22 years. The undergraduate students that graduate from Harvard, the number of distinguished Chinese students are not large, rather small, in fact.
Well, we have a studio full of students who say that they love math, so maybe one of them will be our future great mathematician from China. How about that, you guys? Yeah? maybe? Okay. I know one of the things that you've done to encourage mathematics here in
Yes.
China is you've initiated your own competition. It's called the Yao Mathematics Competition. Let's take a look at a video clip that we've produced based on that. In autumn 2008, 17 teams selected from over 800 groups gathered in Beijing to compete for the first Yao High School Mathematics Award. The award was established to encourage high school students of Chinese descent around the world to participate in project-based competition in mathematical sciences. Founders of the award hope to stimulate youngsters' interest in innovation of mathematical research, cultivate young